Okay, ji, let's start. In the previous class, we started off this chapter on networks and the effects of using them. And to begin with, actually, we defined what is a computer network and what is the purpose of connecting computers in a network. For example, I'll just quickly repeat that when two or more computers are connected together or joined together either through physical wires or wirelessly, or maybe using wireless technology, a network is formed. All right, so it has to be a minimum of two computers, or of course more, and of course it can then stretch to I don't know what, thousands and lakhs of computers that are connected all over the world if we were to talk about the internet. And I think I did make a mention of this that probably the biggest or the largest network that there is in the world is the internet. What is the basic purpose of connecting computers in a network is to be able to or to allow people to be able to communicate, share data, share other types of stuff such as programs, hardware resources such as printers and stuff. So this is the basic purpose of connecting computers in the network. We also discussed the fact that in today's day and age, uh, there are so many things that we are doing in our everyday life when we use computers and other technologies such as smartphones and tablets and whatnot. And so many activities that we are doing while we are online, which would not have been possible had we not been online. No, being online with respect to with respect to computers is where your devices are connected in a network. ये ऑनलाइन वो वाला नहीं है कि if you are using the internet or you're not using the internet, you're online or you're not online. Basically, whenever a device is connected in a way whereby it is able to transfer some data, receive some data, share data, that's where you're online, right? Okay, having said this, so all these so many things around us that we make use of today, such as you know the most popular of them all that probably you can relate to the most is social networking and all that, using search engines on the internet, booking flights, booking seats in a theater, uh, ac- acquiring all other types of services. Okay, maybe booking an appointment online. All right, uh, shopping online, banking online. So all this is possible just because of the fact that there is a network behind the scenes. Okay, so after having this initial discussion, we moved on to the common types of networks. What are the ways in which networks can be formed? So if you look at this, the network types that we have available are, we have local area network, wireless local area network, and wide area network. And how are they abbreviated? Well, you can abbreviate local area network as LAN, wireless local area network, WLAN, and wide area network. So what is a local area network? I told you yesterday also, a local area network is a type of a network where computers and devices are connected with each other locally, maybe within a room, under the same roof, within the same building, or within the same premises. This is all that we talked about, all right? So when you join computers together which are in close vicinity, close by, such as within a room or even within a premises, the boundary wall of a building, on different floors in different maybe physical departments, but the boundary is the same. It would still be a local area network. And usually, when we say it is a local area network, we are generally referring to the one which is a wired network. All right, that where computers and devices are connected through physical wires. But there is another form as well in which local area networks might be established, and that is if you connect them wirelessly using wireless technology that makes use of radio signals or radio waves to transmit the data from one device to the other, and that just makes the use of computers in a network setting probably a little more flexible because devices can be moved around. So as we move on into this topic, we will be talking about the differences between a wired local area network and a wireless local area network. So there we'll be looking at specific points that differentiate the two. Moving on from here, so I just spoke about wireless local area networks. There are devices that are known as access points or hotspots. Have you heard the term hotspot? What is it? Okay, yeah. Hotspot is just that area within which you can receive wireless signals. That's a hotspot. Okay, the area the coverage area within which if you stay or if you are present in there, you will be able to receive wireless signals. If you move out of the area of coverage of the wireless signals, then of course you will be outside the hotspot. All right. So if you're outside the hotspot, of course, you will not be receiving the signals and you will not be able to stay connected. So that is what a hotspot is. And access point is something that actually propagates the wireless signals, all right, within the vicinity of which, if there are any devices such as computers or other portable devices such as smartphones or tablets, maybe smartwatches and whatnot, will be able to receive the wireless signals and will be able to communicate with each other. All right. So access point, an example of an access point could be a router. Router is that device, okay, that receives and transmits wireless signals in the form of radio waves. And whatever devices, as I said, are within the range or the vicinity of an access point would be able to receive those signals, and of course they would be part of the network and they'll be able to share and transmit data. Okay, another term that it uses here is that wireless local area networks make use of what is known as a spread spectrum technology. Now, what is this spread spectrum technology that has a range of about 30 to 50 meters? This is a fair distance, 30 to 50 meters where uh, signals may be received. So spread spectrum means that the signals can propagate 360. They can propagate in all directions. It's not that signals would travel in a certain direction. So I would say like a spread spectrum technology allows data signals to be propagated 360 degrees, all around. So any device that is, of course, anywhere within the vicinity of the signal propagation will be able to be a part of the network. As opposed to infrared, that has a range of about only 5 meters or less. You know what is infrared? Infrared is also a wireless method of data transmission. Infrared is used where? All these remote controllers that we use with devices usually make use of infrared technology to transmit data to the device that we want to control through our remote controller. Yeah. For example, we have this air conditioner in our class. If we want to if we sorry want to operate it remotely, we'll have to do that using a remote controller. And do you notice that when we have to operate devices remotely using controls or controllers, we have to point the controller in the direction of the device to control it. Why do we need to do that? We need to do that because infrared signals have a property that the signals that they transmit only travel in a straight line. Only travel in a straight line. This is also called line of sight. This concept is also called line of sight. Yeah, straight. Yeah. Okay. So you would have noticed that if you are trying to control a device remotely using a remote controller, and if there is an obstacle or hindrance in the way, the signals would not reach. A common example which we all face almost every day is when we are watching television in our lounge, and somebody comes in the way of the remote controller and the television, then it would just not accept the commands. Why? Because the signals get blocked because they're traveling in a straight line. Different from the way the spread spectrum technology of signal transmission happens, which is 360. It doesn't really matter whether there's an obstacle in between or not. The signals can sort of make their way around the obstacle, and they can even pass through obstacles or hindrances. Like with spectrum technology and radio waves, radio signals, they can travel through doors and walls and whatnot. They would not get blocked, but infrared would. All right. So this is also something that you can keep in your mind. Okay. Wide area networks, as we spoke about it yesterday also, are the largest types of networks where computers that are connected or joined together in a wide area network are spread geographically by quite a distance apart, far off, a distance of kilometers in between. So when you join computers together like that, it makes what is known as a wide area network. And again, I'm sort of referring to the previous lesson again and again that uh, what was the biggest example of a wide area network? The internet. The internet is the world's biggest wide area network, actually, if you look at it. But there are other examples of wide area networks as well. Sorry? Exactly, exactly. Remember, we were talking about various branches of a bank being interconnected with each other so that they can share data with each other. One branch with another, either within a city or in between cities, or maybe even in between countries. Same applies to a network of superstores, yeah, such as maybe Walmart. We can take that kind of an example because these superstores are they make use of technology greatly. So their inventory, their stock keeping and stock management is all centralized, and it is all controlled like that. Other examples could be government departments. We spoke about airlines, airlines having multiple offices in different parts of the city or between cities and so on, right? So these are also examples of wide area networks. Okay, let's have a look at the range figures that have been given here when it comes to wide area networks. 100 kilometers to over 1000 kilometers. Imagine. How much would be 1000 kilometers from here? I think it is close to the China border. Yeah. Sorry? Islamabad from Lahore is about I would say, I think it is around 375 to 380 kilometers. Yeah. So and it says over 1,000 kilometers. Yeah. So that is the reason why you're able to connect computers together that are spread over an area where computers can communicate, which are present in different countries. We're not only talking about within a city or between cities; it is even between countries. So such is the range. Okay. Um, then there is another type which is MAN. LAN we know, which is local area network. Any idea what MAN might be? Yeah, I just noticed that it's mentioned in the book. It's metropolitan area network. Okay, it is saying that it is not really part of the syllabus, but just for the sake of completeness of types of networks, they mentioned it here. All right, so we do not really need to get into the detail of what a metropolitan area network is, but yes, we need to know what a LAN, WLAN, and a WAN is. Okay, having done this, let's now move on to uh, this table that highlights the advantages and disadvantages of using local area networks. So we need to be familiar with this so that we are able to understand uh, the effectiveness of connecting computers in a local area network. And of course, yeah, when you join computers together in a network, it is not that all is good and everything becomes an advantage. But yeah, some disadvantages may also arise, so we can have a look at that. So first, let's have a look at the advantages, and then we can go over the disadvantages. So advantage number one first. The sharing of resources such as expensive peripherals, for example, laser printers, and application software. So, in a small sentence, quite a few terms that need our attention. Any idea of what is a peripheral? Or what is let me be a little more specific. What is a peripheral device? Excuse me, sorry. Actually, a peripheral is any device that is connected externally to a computer, is a peripheral, and it may include input devices, output devices, storage devices. Because all these can be connected externally to a computer so that these devices can work with the computer. So the examples would be a keyboard, mouse, microphone, yeah, printer, scanner. In terms of if we were to take an example of a storage device, well, a pen drive, an external hard drive. So all these are examples of peripheral devices. So, but here it says sharing of resources such as expensive peripherals, for example, printers. Now, what kind of a use is this pointing out? Well, have you noticed that in a computer lab, you would find many computers, but you would find probably only one or two printers. Yet, everybody who is sitting in the computer lab, doesn't really matter which computer you're sitting on, you are able to get your printing job done by sending your printout, and it will get printed through the same printer no matter who is sending that printing job and from which computer the person or the network user is sending that printout. This means what? That very expensive hardware resource is being shared by multiple users over the network. Now imagine for a minute, had there been no network and there were multiple users sitting in a computer lab who had to get their printing jobs done more or less at the same time. What would be the solution? Okay, how about if I say, well, it's a very silly solution, but what other solution would you have? The only solution or one of the solutions could be to have a printer connected to every computer. Can you do that? No. Of course, we cannot do that. The other option could have been that, everybody who wants to take a printout first transfers their data on a portable storage device such as a pen drive, takes it all the way to the computer that has that one printer connected to it. Okay, because there is only one computer that has the printer connected to it. Insert the pen drive in there and then take their printout, and the rest are waiting in a queue. All of them holding their sticks, their drives, waiting to be inserted and then printout taken. Can you afford a situation like that? You cannot. Sorry? It will be very time consuming. It will be very time consuming. It will be a lot of hassle. Yeah, and in certain situations it might not even be workable. And why do I say that is because imagine, when you sit in for your practical exam in your CIEs. Now every student has to take their printouts of their evidence in the allotted time. Now, can an arrangement like a CIE practical exam afford students to print their data like that? So networks are coming to your rescue, and sharing of devices over the network is the way to go about it, right? So this is what it means when it says that expensive peripherals can be shared. So it is cost saving, it is time saving, it saves a lot of hassle, there's convenience in it. You can also share software. Software can also be shared. I will not get into a lot of detail of this because that's beyond the scope of our course, but I will give you an idea as to what is meant by sharing of software. Well, just like the way we looked at how an expensive peripheral or hardware may be shared, such as a printer, what if you want to save yourself the hassle of installing a program that every user has to use in the lab on every single computer individually? And what you want to do instead is you want to save it in one computer, which is usually the main controlling computer in the network. You might have heard this term, server. Yeah, server is that all the more important computer that allows network users to be able to share resources with, or share resources of, I would say, whether it is peripherals like printers, or even the storage of that computer. And the fact that if this is the computer, that main computer that has that program as well that everybody wants to share, then you would only have to install it on that particular computer. The rest of the people in the network can just share a copy of it. Hence, you can be saved the hassle of installing that program on every single computer in the network. So this is what it would mean. Is it clear? Okay, let's move on to the next point. So actually, these points might seem to be very, very harmless, but at times with the technical topics like computer networks, you need to read between the lines, and there's a lot to be explained at times in a very small sentence. Anyway, better communication between users of the LAN. This is a very simple point because the basic purpose of connecting computers in a network is to be able to share data, information. Next point is a network administrator. This is a specific term. A network administrator can control and monitor all aspects of the network, for example, changing passwords, monitoring the use of the internet, and so on. Now, what does this mean, and how is this an advantage? A computer network is a very special environment. Yeah, it cannot be set up by just about anybody. You need a technical person to set it up, all in terms of course, the hardware and other forms of settings that you need to do for a network for it to be operational. So you need a dedicated technical person who does that, and that technical person is generally called a network administrator. He is the individual who creates, manages, and maintains a network. Now, because you have a network administrator, your network remains functional, workable at all times. Because there's a person who is guarding it, who is monitoring it, who is controlling how the network is working, and the fact that it remains operational without any problems. And if any problem was to arise, it is this person who would make sure that it is fixed in time to keep the network or every device in the network up and running. It is as simple as that. So actually it becomes an advantage because there's somebody to take care of the computers and other aspects of the network. And it is this person who also creates the network users, assigns them their unique identity in terms of their, I would say, their IDs and passwords. Yeah. And every network user would have their own unique ID and password that they would use to log in to the network and use its resources or share data and log out as well once you're done. Monitoring the use of the internet, because you see network administrator has access to everything over the network, and he can watch and monitor what activity is taking place on what computer in the network. He can actually see that. So accordingly, if he sees any such activity which may be harmful to a network or a network user, he can stop it from happening, or he can sort of uh, keep a control over it. So these are the basic advantages, I would say, of local area networks. Let's quickly go over the disadvantages as well. Easier spread of viruses throughout the whole network. Any idea why viruses would spread easily over a network? Not really. Easier spread of viruses. Yeah, that's more appropriate. Great, good. You see, we talk about networks where computers are connected. When a computer is not connected in a network, it is called a standalone computer. What do you call it? A standalone. Let me write it down. Standalone. That's what the term is. So when a computer is not connected in a network, it is called a standalone computer. Now, if a virus was to come in your standalone computer, it would stay there. It would only affect your computer and the data and the program stored. The chances of it spreading widely or easily would not really be there. But we do know that the basic purpose of a network is to share data and communicate. So, and if a virus was to come in any of the computers of the network, and since the data is readily shared, any computer in the network that virus infected file is shared with will also get infected, and so on. If it is passed on to then another computer and then to another computer, the virus is just spreading easily. So, of course, spread of viruses is a threat because a virus is a threat to your system in terms of, not only that it can impact hardware, but of course it can impact the programs as well as your own data. So, of course, uh, you need to sort of have a watch guard against spread of viruses. So, it needs to be looked into. Queues can form for shared resources such as a printer, which can be frustrating. Well, we were just talking about the fact that although it's a great benefit that one expensive peripheral such as a printer can be shared by multiple users, but what if many users need to get their printing jobs done more or less at the same time or in quick succession? Now, one thing that we need to understand is that there's only one printer, and the printer can only handle one printing request or one printing job at a time. It cannot handle multiple printing jobs at the same time. Hence, what happens is that if too many printing commands arrive at the printer would make a queue of them. It would queue them up based on first come, first serve basis. All right. So whichever command came first will be printed first, then the next in the queue, and then the next in the queue. And well, you would be very unlucky if you were somewhere at the end of the queue. So it would be most frustrating for you. And it may take at least a few minutes really for you to receive your printout in that kind of a situation. So this can also be one of the problems. Again, I'll give you this example of your CIEs. Now, I was just speaking about the fact that many students sitting in the lab, and by the way, in your CIEs, when you're sitting in your practical, I'm giving you tips and tricks at the same time of what to expect when you sit for your practical. It is very common for 40 to 50 students sitting in a lab, okay, in a larger, bigger lab, even maybe 60, and you would only may have one or two printers that are being used to handle all the printing tasks. Now we do know that all students have to get their evidence made, their exam done and printed at the same time within an allotted time. Now, towards the end, there's a lot of pressure on the printers for printing too many printing requests. So what happens generally at that time is that when too many students send their printing requests at the same time, a printing queue is formed. And sometimes some candidates may have to wait a few extra minutes before they can receive their prints. So at that time, you just have to do not, what actually happens at that time is students sometimes do not have this technical thing in mind, although they are told and they are taught this particular aspect. But in exam pressure and all that, they would have forgotten about it. And they feel as if probably their command is not being registered by the printer, or maybe there's some error. Actually, that is not the case. It is a case of their printing request waiting in a queue, in a long queue, for it to be printed. So you have to just wait a few extra minutes. Yeah. Okay. Next, slower access to external networks. Slower access to external networks such as the internet. Okay. One user using the internet as opposed to 15 to 20 users using the internet at the same time, do you think would have an impact in terms of the speed of receiving and transmitting data? Yeah, because the connection is being shared now amongst multiple users instead of one or maybe just a couple of them. So the thing is, with networks, again, it is not the case that you install a separate internet connection on every computer in the network. It is one connection with great speed that is shared amongst all the network users. So the more the people who are using the internet at the same time, the more there are chances of the speed going a bit slow. I would not say that it would become very slow or it would not remain workable, but yeah, you may feel a degradation in speed of internet usage. And it happens. Have you experienced this in your home ever? Because these days the setting of a household is such that everybody is using their own devices and separately connected to the network. And not only now it is true with computers or smartphones and whatnot, but smart TVs have also come in, and all those online platforms like Netflix and YouTube and whatnot are now available. So that just adds another aspect to it. So yeah, if too many people are using the same connection at the same time, you may experience a bit of a lag or slow speed when it comes to browsing. Increased security risk when compared to standalone computers. देखो standalone की term आ गई. Increased security risk. We were just talking about the spread of viruses. Is spread of viruses a security risk or threat to your data? Yes, it is. Now, same is the case with other types of security threats. I will not get into the detail as of right now because we do have a topic later on where we would be talking about safety and security that relates to use of networks. But right now, I'll just be referring to a very common term that I know you would know, and that is hacking. And uh, particularly when you are connected to a global network such as the internet. Not so much maybe when you're using a local area network, but the exploitation through hackers is more when you are connected to a global network such as the internet, because there you have all sorts of people out there, okay, whom you do not know, may have, you know, false intentions of impacting you or your data in some negative way. So yeah, there is definitely an increased security risk. Last point in disadvantages is, if the main server breaks down, you see the term server again here, which I was referring to just a while ago, this thing. So if the main server or the main computer breaks down, in many types of network structures, the network will no longer function properly. Can you figure out as to why is that the case? Yes, yes, very good. Very good. See, we do know that server is that all the more important computer that has a lot of resource that is shared generally by users of the network. We just spoke about a printer, we spoke about an internet connection, we spoke about sharing of an important software. Now, if the server was to break down, if it breaks down, then can we imagine that all those services would not be available? The internet would not be available, maybe. The printer is not available. Somebody wants to work in a specific program which can only be accessed through the server is not available. So causes large scale disruption. Affects or impacts not a single individual but all network users. And things cannot be put back to normal until unless the server is fixed or it is put back in order. So it is very important that the network server is kept up and running all the time, because if something happens to the server, it goes down, then it will not impact one individual, it will impact all network users in multiple ways actually. Yeah. So hence the role of the network administrator becomes even more important, because he's the one who's controlling all this. So he needs to make sure that the server is up and running without any problems at all times. Yeah. Okay. Are all these points clear? Any doubts? Any confusions? Okay, that's wonderful.